So in this third video, we're going to be continually diving deeper into more rules. We're also going to look at reports, and we're going to look at field parameters specifically, especially around hiding and showing fields, which is a big part of Blockworks. So first thing I'm going to quickly do is add one more field to our receiving block. I'm going to say part number. I'm going to keep things simple enough, and I won't get this data from other blocks or anything just for now, because I just want to spend the time on reports. So what I'll do is I'll delete all data here. And we'll start adding some part numbers. Now I cannot remember if I had a rule here. I'll just quickly check. Oh yeah, we did. So I will start to just follow the rule. I just want to add just a few records just to show. Do part 002. And we'll just do one more. So we have 2 part 2s and 3 part 1s. So there are lots of different ways we can see what's going on basically in regard of what kind of data we have. And that's the purpose of this. I want to show you the reports. Firstly, the most basic one is this down here, which is receiving counts. And that gives you the counts of each individual number or each value. So for instance, the serial number, there's one of each of these, as you can see. But the inbound shipment number, there's 5 of them. So there's 5 records. So there's 5 of this value. And the part number, there's 2 of part 002 and 3 of part 001. So that's the most basic way of seeing your counting. To be honest, it's not very attractive for having a clean block, and for that reason we sometimes hide it. So we'll quickly show you how to hide it. So we're going back to our block and layout visibility, so we can untick show counts area. And when I refresh here, it's gone. So the next one is advanced reports. And this is where we can basically get reports on the data that we're entering. So you can choose the fields that you see, and then you can choose the date. So I'm going to pick all fields, and I'm going to pick today because that's when I just entered all the records. And there's 2 options. One is show data on screen. Probably a little pointless in this context because we already see the data on screen, but sometimes it's not, because sometimes you have fields hidden here. But I suppose the big one is get raw data report, and that downloads a file which gives you raw data, as you can see. And like I was showing, you can choose what you see and what you don't see. So we can remove the user ID and the date timestamp and even the timestamp. Let's do one more. That's the old one, and that's the new one. So that's our raw data report. That's on the left hand side. We also have a thing called Smart Report, which does a bit of counting. So easiest thing for me to do is simply show you. First, I'll click one. I'll click one field, part number, and let's get the Smart Report. So what it does is it breaks down the counts by their values. So in this case, it's 3 part 001 and 2 part 002. But we can do this in multiples. So you can, what I mean by that is you can select multiple fields and it starts to break things down even more. So let's pick the two of these. So now what it does is it gets all the records where the inbound shipment number is this value and the part number is this value. And then where the inbound shipment number is this and the part number is this. Probably not a great example. I'm going to add one more that has a different inbound shipment number, just so I can show you. So we'll do part 002. I'll change the shipment number to this, and we'll just put in another serial number. And let's get a smart report again, the same one. And as you can see, it counts this separately. So here's a different inbound shipment number with part 002, and there's one of them. So this is handy to give you a kind of a summary. Of course, there is lots of ways this can be done with previous things I've shown you, especially using the total counts rule. So I'll just quickly show you one. So I'm going to create a block called report on receiving. And we won't be spending too much time on this, but I just want to quickly demonstrate to you how, for instance, we could get a count of how many have been received. So let's say part number. We'll just say field 2, not that that matters. No, we'll just say amount received. And now we have our rule, populate another local field with total from elsewhere. And we're going to count receiving. Total required is the part number. Local field to populate is amount received. Now, up until now, every time I've shown you this rule, I've shown you the count total of numeric. We're going to finally change and use count number of values. And the thing we use to match is where the part number is equal to part number. So press submit. So now let's quickly go here and say part 002, hit return, and we have 3. Part 003, I believe actually it's the same amount. Oh no. Oh yeah. So part that worked. Part 003 we don't have any, but part 001 we have 3. So as you can see, there's so many ways you can get your data, but we'll stick to reports for now. So while we're looking at that, we will just do one more option here, which is automated reports. I'm just going to introduce this to you, but we won't actually build one yet. In the future, when we have this module nearly complete, we'll build an automated report, because I want to do a lot of our automation stuff in a dedicated module. But you could, in theory, build yourself an automated report by saying, well, let's pick serial number and part number and inbound shipment number. What address will we send it to? What's the time frame we want? Previous day, previous 7 days. Let's say we want all week's data. Do we want the raw data or the smart report? So that's the two types of reports I showed you. And how often do we want this? I guess if we're doing previous 7 days, we're going to say we'll have it every week on a Monday morning. And we'll just say the subject would be received data. So that would be an automated report. You press add automated report up there and you can edit it and delete it. But we will come back to that so we can actually look at the report. So now that we have looked at the reports and some of the things like that, the next thing we're going to do is move on to more rules. And that's why we're moving on to visual inspection. So let's pretend there's a process here. The units have come in and operators have now received them. The next thing we do is a visual inspection. So let's say it's the TVs like we were saying. So now there's going to be a visual inspection block, and using this block we're going to start introducing new rules. So firstly, I'm going to create a field called serial number. Well, I'll do normal case. And we'll just do a multi-button. I would say inspection status, pass, and fail. So now I'm going to the rules of the serial number. So we've been through all of these. However, we haven't looked at this one yet. Item must have been entered elsewhere. So what we're saying here is this item, the value that's put in here had to have been entered in a different block. So I'm going to say, well, you can't do a visual inspection on something that hasn't been received yet. So field to look up is serial number. So we're going to keep this simple and not use this option, which will search by multiple things. So by just simply keeping this as the same field where they happen to be the same field name, serial number is this one and serial number is this one, it will know to look up the serial number that we put in here. And we'll just say as a response, serial number must have been received. So let's try them. So just random, hit return, or the scanner would hit return. So now let's pick one that's we know has been entered into received, hit return, and it's happy. We can choose our inspection status. I'll just take one more as an example, and I'll just change it a small bit. Again, it doesn't like it. That's perfect. So I'm going to quickly move on. To functional testing, and the reason is I want to show you more rules. So what we'll do here is we'll put in the serial number again. We won't bother with that rule this time. There's a different rule I want to show you. So we're going to say, well, we can't go to functional testing unless it's past visual inspection. So now we're doing another rule. So just because it's been entered in visual inspection doesn't mean it's passed. So we're going to use the rule a specific value is required elsewhere. So now what's the block? The block we're looking up is visual inspection. What's the field we're looking up? It's serial number. So what are we checking against is the inspection status, and it must be equal pass. So the unit has not passed visual inspection. And press submit. So if I put in any random one, test, the unit has not passed visual inspection. I'll put in one from receiving that we didn't even put into visual inspection. And again, that hasn't passed. I'm going to go to visual inspection and put that same one in here, but I'm going to fail it. And I'll go back to functional testing and hit return. Again, it hasn't passed. However, when we try this one, which is in visual inspection, it's happy and it passes because it found it in visual inspection and it found the inspection status to be pass. So that's what the criteria required. So I'm going to look at one more thing for this rule or similar rule. Scrapping. So let's just say some items are scrapped. For whatever reason. Might have passed visual inspection, but there was something else. There's some other reason it's been determined to scrap. Maybe the item has come in returned 3 or 4 times or something. So what we're going to say is a new rule here in serial number, and we'll say cannot exist in another block. So the block to look up is scrapping. The field to look up is serial number. There's a way of doing an exception to this, but to avoid confusion, we won't put this in now. But basically, this rule is saying this cannot be in scrapping, but there's a possibility for an exception to this, where a different field might have a certain value. So for that reason, it's possible to say, well, it can't be in scrapping, but maybe it can sometimes when we have a certain value with a certain field. But like I said, we'll leave that for now, and we'll just say this item has been scrapped. So now we'll hit return. It's happy because it passed visual inspection. But let's come back again now. So we know it's in visual inspection. We know it's passed. That's that one there. But now we're going to say, well, what about scrapping? Let's just say it's been scrapped. So now we go into functional testing. We try again. This item has been scrapped. And that's how we start putting our controls in place. So there's only a few rules left we're going to be looking up, but we don't need them for now for this particular video. But by the time we're finished with this module, we'll have covered all the rules. The final thing I want to show you is conditional visibility, which is a huge part of Blocworx and a very popular feature. And I'm going to show you the most basic version of it. It's possible to hide and show fields based on the value of other fields. So the easiest thing to do is show you. Let's just say every time an item failed visual inspection, we wanted to show a comment. So the way it is by default, it's the comment field is always there. And often they're passing, so the user will quite often not want to put anything in here. This is relevant quite often because if the user is using a scanner, they don't want to have to come back and forth and click submit and do whatever. They just want to use the scanner. In fact, quite often users might even scan the words pass and fail. So I'm going to change that to a text field just to show you the use case here. So we're just going to use this number because we know it'll work. They scan here. When their scanner hits return, they're left with a comment even though they don't want one. So sometimes they either have to scan nothing and just trigger the return, or they have to go off the scanner and press return. And they just don't want, they want a clean form, you know. So the idea is let's only show the comment if it's failed. We're going to go to our field parameters. So hover over the field and click parameters. And we're going to scroll down and scroll down past all the checkboxes until you see conditional visibility. So let's open this up. So first I'll just quickly do one and then explain. So I'm going to say choose if all the fields must equal their value or not. So then we're going to say we're going to show the field, select the field inspection status, and we'll say fail. We have this set on the comment field. So we go serial number. If I put in pass, it works away. Serial number, if I put in fail, the comment appears. So now let's have a look at what I did here. You'll notice the field you can't see the field now. You have to tick to show hidden fields. So we go back to parameters and we go down to conditional visibility again. This first option is basically saying for all the fields that we're setting values on, all of them have to either equal the values that we're setting, or at least just one of them has to be. In my example, that's not relevant because there's only one field, but just say we had one more field called I want to add a comment. This is a bit of a pointless exercise, but the idea is to show you the multiple. So now let's update this a bit. I will say at least one field needs to be equal to value. So then if our values are met, so if our conditions are met, are we showing comment or are we hiding it? In this case, we're going to show it. So if inspection status equals if it equals fail, we're going to show it. But we're also going to say, I want to add a comment. Well, the one thing I'll have to do actually is refresh the screen to get that field. So we're going to go back to showing the fields, parameters. Sometimes there is an issue where you don't see the latest field and you have to refresh, but we're working on that one. So again, at least one of the fields needs to be equal to the value. Show the field is our option if the criteria is met, and I want to add a comment. We'll say it needs to be yes. So now we have two fields determining if this is going to show or not, but only one of them has to match. So let's have a look at this. If I type fail here, it appears, but if I type anything else, it doesn't. But what if I type in yes, it appears, but if I type in anything else, it doesn't. So as you can see, either one is allowing it to appear. So now let's change that setting. So we go to the comments. We have to show the field, hidden fields. Go to the comment and conditional visibility. Now let's say, actually no, I want everything to equal their criteria. So this is our criteria here. And I want them all to equal their criteria if we're going to show that field. So let's go back to the front end. We'd say fail, still not showing. We'd say no, still not showing. Yes, and now it's showing. But what if we change this again? It's gone. So now it's saying, well, not just inspection status can equal fail, but this has to equal yes as well. So we have two fields determining whether we're going to show the commenter field or not. Finally, the whole thing can be done in reverse. And that's the idea behind this setting here. Show the field. In our case, we're saying if the criteria is met, we're going to show the field. But I can actually reverse this entirely. by saying, well, actually, it's the opposite. I want to show the field if everything is not this, basically. So what I mean by that is I want to hide the field. So this will seem a bit like it's not making sense because I want to add a comment. As you can see, comment is now appearing. If I say no, say something else, but now if both of them criteria are met, we've said, well, we're going to hide the field if both criteria are met. Obviously, it doesn't really make sense because of the values I've set here, but um, you get the idea that it's supposed to determine whether we're showing or hiding. Something quite important to note, um, if this is vanished as a result of this setting, anything related to this field, any functionality or any rules or anything that might be happening with this field is no longer there. So just it's something for you to know, to consider that this option completely and utterly removes this field, um, not even just hides it visually. So that's all for now. In the next video, we'll be going into a few more field parameters. Thank you. Bye bye.